Most men send hey and never realize that one word quietly decides whether they're remembered or ignored. Because the truth is, attraction isn't lost in big mistakes. It disappears in small, forgettable moments. Moments where you say nothing and expect something in return. What if I told you the first message isn't about starting a conversation at all? It's about revealing who you are before you ever speak again. In the next few minutes, you'll discover why the right words don't chase attention. They command it. And once you understand this, you'll never be overlooked again in texts or in life. Comment your location below and subscribe to the channel for more truths that change everything. When you send the word hey, what you're really communicating isn't friendliness. It's absence, absence of intention, absence of direction, absence of thought, and the human mind is wired to filter out anything that feels empty. We don't respond to blanks. We respond to meaning. This is why hey fails so consistently, not because it's rude or lazy, but because it gives the brain nothing to hold on to. No emotional signal, no reason to lean in. It's neutral, and neutrality is invisible. Think about how attention works in everyday life. When something feels familiar and predictable, the mind relaxes and moves on. But when something slightly disrupts expectation, curiosity wakes up. That's the psychological lever most people never touch. Curiosity isn't loud, it's subtle. It's the quiet pull that says, wait, what does this mean? And the moment your message creates that internal pause, you've already separated yourself from everyone else in her inbox. Most men believe effort means writing more. Long messages, over-explaining, trying to impress. But effort, in psychological terms, is precision. One sentence that carries intention, observation, or intrigue is worth more than 10 lines of empty enthusiasm. The brain values efficiency. It rewards relevance. When your first message contains a point of focus, something specific, intentional, and slightly unexpected, it feels valuable. And value commands attention without asking for it. There's also something deeper happening here, something philosophical. When you open with, hey, you're placing the burden of meaning on the other person. You're asking them to decide what this interaction is going to be. That's a subtle form of submission. But when you open with curiosity or insight, you're saying, I'm here for a reason. Not to take, not to impress, but to engage. And that shift alone changes the dynamic before a single reply is sent. This is why observation is so powerful. Not flattery, not compliments, observation. It signals presence. It tells the other person, I see more than your surface. And being seen, even briefly, activates something emotional. People don't remember who was polite. They remember who made them feel recognized. That recognition doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be real. When your message carries intention, you're no longer hoping for a response. You're inviting one. There's a difference. Hope creates tension. Invitation creates ease. And ease is attractive because it feels confident without being loud. Secure without being arrogant. This is how you become memorable without trying to stand out. So before you send your next message, pause. Ask yourself not, will this get a reply? But does this give the other person something to feel, something to think about, something to respond to? Because the moment you stop sending emptiness and start sending intention, everything changes. Not just how they respond, but how you show up. Most people don't realize how quickly intention leaks through language. Before someone ever sees your face or hears your voice, they feel where you're speaking from. And one of the fastest ways attraction collapses is when your words reveal that you're trying to be chosen. Approval seeking doesn't sound like insecurity on the surface. It sounds polite, it sounds agreeable, it sounds safe. But psychologically, it places you beneath the interaction, waiting for permission to exist in it. When you text from a place of wanting to be liked, you unconsciously hand over control. Your message becomes a soft question mark asking, is this okay? That energy is subtle, but it's unmistakable. Human beings are highly sensitive to emotional positioning. We feel when someone is centered in themselves, and we feel when someone is performing for acceptance. And attraction doesn't grow toward performance, it grows toward presence. This is why speaking from observation changes everything. Observation says, I'm here and I'm paying attention. It doesn't ask for validation, it expresses awareness. When you reflect something specific back to another person, their tone, their perspective, the way they express themselves, you're not flattering them. You're acknowledging reality, and reality feels grounding. It feels confident. It creates trust without effort. There's a philosophical layer here that's easy to miss. Approval-seeking language is future-oriented. It's trying to secure an outcome. Observation is present-oriented. It's rooted in what is, not what might be. And presence is power. When you speak from the present moment, your words feel anchored. They don't rush, they don't plead, they simply land. That's what makes someone pause and engage. Notice how often conversations die because one person is trying to impress while the other is trying to connect. Impression is a performance. Connection is a shared moment. When you observe, rather than seek approval, you invite connection because you're meeting the other person where they are, not where you hope they'll place you. This subtly flips the dynamic. Instead of chasing interest, you create space for mutual curiosity. And here's the part most people never consider: observation requires self-trust. You don't observe if you don't believe your perception has value. When you speak from what you notice, you're saying, my experience matters. That statement alone shifts your internal posture. You stop editing yourself. You stop overthinking tone. You start communicating cleanly. And clean communication is rare, which is why it's attractive. This doesn't mean forcing depth or manufacturing insight. It means being honest and specific. Simple awareness expressed calmly is far more powerful than exaggerated confidence. When someone feels seen without being evaluated, they relax. And when people relax, they open. That openness is where real attraction forms, not in clever lines, but in grounded presence. So the next time you're about to send a message, don't ask yourself how to sound impressive. Ask yourself what you genuinely noticed. Speak from there. Because the moment you stop trying to be chosen and start expressing what you see, you move from asking for attention to naturally holding it. The first message does more than open a conversation. It silently defines the emotional rules of everything that follows. Long before attraction becomes a feeling, it becomes a frame. And human beings don't respond to words alone, they respond to the emotional context those words create. When your opening message is uncertain, overly safe, or empty, the interaction unconsciously settles into a low-energy pattern. From there, every reply feels like work, short answers, delays, conversations that fade without explanation, not because interest was never there, but because the frame was never set. A strong emotional frame doesn't mean intensity, it means clarity. When your first message carries ease, intention, or subtle playfulness, it signals that interaction with you will feel light, grounded, and engaging. This removes pressure on both sides. There's no need to impress, perform, or rush toward an outcome. The conversation can breathe, and when conversations breathe, people stay. Most people think momentum is built through constant texting. In reality, momentum is psychological. It's created when the other person feels safe to respond as themselves. That safety comes from tone. A grounded opener says, there's no urgency here, just presence. And presence is rare in a world of distraction. When someone feels that calm confidence early on, they unconsciously mirror it. Replies become fuller. Timing becomes natural. Interest grows without being forced. There's also a philosophical truth underneath all of this. The frame you set in the beginning reflects how you experience yourself. If you open from anxiety, the frame becomes tension. If you open from curiosity, the frame becomes exploration. If you open from self-trust, the frame becomes mutual respect. People don't just respond to what you say, they respond to who you're being while you say it. This is why the first message should never try to escalate too fast or stay too neutral. Both extremes collapse the frame. One creates pressure, the other creates boredom. The sweet spot is grounded intrigue, enough clarity to feel intentional, enough openness to invite response. When you find that balance, conversations don't need saving. They unfold. And here's the most important part. Once a frame is set, it's hard to change. People unconsciously follow the emotional rules established early on. That's why the beginning matters more than most people admit. Not because it guarantees attraction, but because it gives it a place to grow. So before you send your next message, pause long enough to choose the tone you want to live inside. Because the way you begin is rarely just a start, it's a statement. And when that statement comes from calm, grounded intention, the rest has a way of falling into place.